Hello guys, welcome back to Tabletop Republic's YouTube channel. I am Seb.K and this is a very special box. It is the event kit from Corvus Belli for Aristeia, but why I am going through it today is because I think it's one of the coolest collection boxes they've released so far, and I really hope this is how they're going to do their collection boxes from now on, because it's more special than what they were doing previously, especially in the box design. It's much more compact and so on, but we're going to go through that in a minute. I'm also going to be talking a bit about the character that's in this later on, talking about her usefulness in Aristeia, but also in Infinity the game, because she is available in both, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So what is an event kit? So what normally Corvus Belli have been doing for the last couple of years is putting out special packs that tournament organisers can use, which have little gubbins in them, like badges and things like that, which were only really useful for tournaments. But they were cool and people would want them, but they weren't really something you would want to pay out money for unless you were organising something and you wanted to give things away, right? And whilst people still bought them because people like to collect things, they weren't really aimed at your average consumer. But now they've changed things up a little bit, and I think this box is the start of a bunch of very cool collector's items that I'm hoping they're going to put out. I have been holding on to this box for more than a couple of months because I was excited to do an unboxing on it at some point. So here we are. I have not opened it, so let's hope this goes well. Let's have a look at this. So what they've done is they've got an internal box, as they like to do, and they've shrunk it down a little bit, so it's a much more manageable size, right? The other ones were almost twice the size of this, and it was unnecessary. They were mostly empty. But now they've really packed this full of stuff. So on the back of this, you can see that there's a few items that you're going to get in here. Limited edition playing cards and dice and so on. And let's have a real look at those. So, in here. So before, you would open up one of these packs and it would just be a box that has all the stuff in it, but they seem to have put in some extra love and extra thought, right? So the usual things are here. You get your character badges, which you got in the previous AGL kits, only they seem to be a lot bigger now as well. They're much more robust and easier to put on bags, which I think they were kind of intended for anyway. And you seem to get a good collection. I think you get basically the starting 8 in here. No, I think it's random actually, but you've got Maximus and we've got Hippolyta there, we've got Hexa, we've got Parvati, of course, we've got Wild Bill, stuff like that. So I think these are actually random. You don't get all the characters in here because that bag would be huge. But you do get a good smattering of them, so if you're into badges, that's something that you can have a look at. Now this is a unique item that they've put in here. This is like a squidgy stress dice, which I think is awesome because it's just a bit of fun and silliness. It actually matches the playable Aristeia dice. So it's just a bit of a novelty and it's kind of fun. See, in Aristeia, you are stacking some features of this dice on top of your dice rolls. So characters might have a hit symbol already on their card, which you add to your dice roll. So if you want to represent that, you could just turn this dice and put it down and go, look, I've got that. And it's stupid and it's fun and it's a novelty. But it's definitely a fun collector's item and better than one of the things that they've come up with in the past. I can definitely say that because I've always been a little bit disappointed with the ones in the past. So this is a good change. So here, this is one of Parvati's unique effects, is that she adds initiative values. So what they've done is they've actually put in some special initiative plus tokens in here, which are obviously, they're metal. They're kind of like a brushed metal. Let's see if I can get this up there without the light interfering. There you go. You see they're like a brushed metal. Really nice quality, and just an extra thing for you to use if you're using Parvati, and I'll talk a bit about that in a minute because I think you should. But yeah, those are cool. Here we've got the extra playing cards. So what they do is they've put the alternate artwork for this alternate skin of Parvati. So this is not what Parvati normally looks like. I'm sure some of you who are fans will know that already. And what they've done is they've taken the time to do special initiative cards like they do for all of their skins, that have the image of the skin on them instead of the usual character artwork. So I think those are pretty cool. I'm not going to open those up and take a look, but I will show them off later on in the video in their JPEG format. Again, we got the character card. Now this is different. Okay, so what they've done this time is make this out of like it's like a card, it's like a hard plastic. The quality of the print is really good, as you can see there. Look, that's really good, and you can see that it has a texture to it because it is like a hard plastic. I really like that. I tend to use card sleeves with all of my cards, but having that extra robustness is really nice. I really like that, actually. Again, they've put extra time and care into this, and it isn't more expensive than your usual AGL kit, so I really think this is a good deal this time around. Now this is really bad. I'm probably just being a total noob. I have no idea what this is. Even though I play Aristeia, I actually don't know what this is. So if someone in the comments can tell me what this is meant to symbolise, but you get an extra badge here, which has clearly been carefully placed in here. So it obviously means something. I'm just not sure what yet. Now this is another cool thing as well. You get a metal tin, which is like a dice box. Now, obviously, this will hold onto. It's got foam in it as well, so you could actually put Parvati in here. I know a lot of people have been using this as a dice box, but really you can just use it for whatever you like. So if you've got a really nicely painted Parvati and you just want to keep them in there, keep her in there, you can do. It's got 2 layers of foam, which I didn't know. It doesn't show you on the box art, so that's really cool. That's a nice bonus. But in here you've just got a really nice dice tin that you could use for your Aristeia dice, you could use for Infinity dice. It'll easily fit D20s. So that's cool. Again, another really decent high quality item. You can see it has that little latch here. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Thought that was pretty cool. I'm actually kind of surprised. Again, I have not opened this box, so I knew it was in it, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. So I'm really surprised by that. That's really nice. So that's really cool. And then we've got a couple more items in here. Obviously, we've got Parvati, the actual figure. She's really awesome. I will show off. I mean, this is a beautiful paint now. I'm probably going to paint her like that, to be honest. I think that's really good. And at some point, I will be able to show that off. If you like to see my painted miniatures, I have an Instagram page at Seb.K Miniatures. And I will be putting her up in the next month or two because I'm doing my Aleph force at the moment, Steel Phalanx, and I know she's not in Steel Phalanx, but I'm using her for my O12, so I'll probably paint her along with the same colours, that sort of thing. But yeah, there's the figure. Again, they bothered to actually sort of individually pack this model. Again, it's an extra bit of care. They've really put some extra time and effort in here. And then we've got the awesome playmat. So I've collected a lot of these playmats. Actually, I think they've only done 2. I think only Wild Bill, who had his casino themed playmat, which I thought was awesome. And now we've got a Parvati one as well, which is all like synthwave neon, very 80s looking. Very cool. Again, this is made out of like a PVC with a printed surface, very similar to the game mats. If you buy your high quality game mats that you want to play Infinity on or any other game, you'll come out of this. It's kind of like mouse mat material where you've got your rubber on one side and you've got a printed sort of I'm not sure what coating this is, but I'm sure some of you will know what this is made of. But yeah, that's what you get. I think it's really good. Of course, it will fit as it would against any Aristeia board, and that is awesome. And then, of course, the last thing you get in here is a tournament code. These are really useful for people who like to run events. This lets you log events on Corvus Belli's tournament system and get points if you're a warcore like myself. Yeah, it's just handy. If you are a collector and you're not going to use these, please give these to your local tournament advisor or organizer because they're really handy. Because they're actually quite expensive to buy individually if you're planning on doing a lot of events. Like I was doing leagues and we're doing stuff every week until lockdown, of course. So we were doing stuff every week with Infinity and Aristeia, and I needed these codes quite a lot when we were doing leagues and tournaments and stuff like that. So please hand those over to your local warcore if you have one, but don't give them out online because that's never a good idea. Well, thanks, guys. Short break, and we're going to come back with Parvati's stats and her usefulness in game. But yes, this is all the contents for the AGL kit. Again, you can see that this is a really, really good kit, and I honestly think this is finally worth the money, whether you're a tournament organizer or a player now. Finally, this is definitely worth getting. Yeah, there we go. Okay, guys, so time for the unit breakdowns. What we're going to do is start with Infinity version of Parvati, because I think she is exceptional, and there's a lot of reasons why. What was really funny was watching her in the early days of N4's app in the first week, where she seemed to get buffed and nerfed on an almost daily basis, and her preview stats for that were shown off before N4 were apparently wrong. And they were very wrong, because either they made a mistake early on, or they always intended her to, and they always intended her to be this good, or they saw the reaction of people going, "What is wrong with this character? She really isn't very good," and buffed her into the stratosphere. She is very expensive, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But she just does so much. In fact, this unit is a little bit insane. So let's just start with the basics. Going with the stat line. Obviously, she's regular here, light infantry, which means that if she wasn't a remote, she wouldn't be hackable. But she is a remote, so never mind. So looking at the stat line from left to right, movement 6-2 is mental, especially on a support character like this. Means that she can get a little bit further on the first half of the short movement skill, which is always handy. Everyone would prefer to have 6-2 over 4-4, so that's really, really good. CC 15, not really relevant, although she does have a nice sword, which turns out to just be a CC weapon, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's cool, that's not what she's for. So ballistic skill 12, that is basically average in Infinity. I know a lot of people like to say, "Oh, it's crap." No, it's pretty much average. It's pretty decent. That's most of Tohar, most of Ariadna. Quite a few members of Yujing. It's only when you start looking at Pano and stuff where that doesn't look so good. But 12 is just fine, especially considering that with a 6-2 move, she might be able to, and all of those submachine guns, which we'll talk about in a sec, means that she can get around the corner and really lay waste to people, and she may actually be catching people out of cover quite a lot of the time if she's coming around the corner, hitting them with 15s, so that's not bad, really, is it? Physique 10 doesn't matter, she's not going to do much close combat. That does mean that she's not going to be very good at dodging, but she also has dodge +3 here, so she's actually dodging on a 13, which makes that a little bit more palatable. Whip 15, now that's exceptional. Anyway, definitely above average. And with the buffs on here, which we'll talk about, even better. It's already a Whip 15 anything in the game. If you can get a Whip 15 anything, you would take it. Whip 15 on this character that does so much is just mental. And at one point, during the buffs and nerf cycle, she was 4-4 move, I believe, with Whip 13, and everyone was just like, what? That doesn't really make much sense. And that's why I think that maybe they just made a mistake, and they intended her to have a stat like this. Whip 14 or 15, it does make a lot of sense for this character. Arm 2, cool, better than Arm 1. Fair enough. BTS 6, mental, because she's hackable, and you want to be able to defend against that. So having a high BTS is definitely helpful. She's just really good. Strength. Structure 2, so that's basically 2 wounds. At one point she was structure 1, and I think she was dogged, which was just awful. Now she's just flat out structure 2, and that does something very interesting when we start looking at her abilities. She could do something that I think may be unique to her, so we'll talk about that. And obviously she's Silhouette 1, and she's AVA 1 being a character. So let's look at the equipment and special skills. Deactivator is a bit of a weird one. It lets you turn off other pieces, any enemy pieces of equipment, but the weird thing about it is that it's a bonus to a whip check within a certain distance. I believe that's 8, but it may be 16, but I'm pretty sure it's 8 inches. And if it's 8 inches, when you walk up to a mine at 8 inches, and you were to turn it off, it's going off. and you need line of sight as far as I know. So if you walk around the corner to deactivate a mine at ages, well, it's going off, which solves the problem, but probably not in the way that you intended if you have the deactivate skill. It's in a bit of a weird place right now, and I don't know whether they're going to extend it out to 16 to get a +3 to whip, which would make a lot more sense, but then that would be a little bit too far. So as a skill, well, as a bit of equipment, deactivate is in a bit of a weird place. Remote presence. So yeah, this is mental. You get all of the benefits and none of the drawbacks that you used to get in N3 with this now. Remote presence basically just means that she's able to be fixed by an engineer, and guess what? She is an engineer. And this is what's unique about this model. I think she may be one of the only models in the game that can technically repair herself on a +3. And she'll have 2 levels of unconscious because she's a remote presence in case someone else could come over and engineer her. I think that's absolutely mental. That means that you have a lot less risk using her offensively, especially late game. I mean, she's not a bad fighter, ballistic skill 12, that mobility. If you're in a pinch, 2 submachine guns for burst 4 is really, really good. And the ability, and she has super jump here, which means that she may be able to catch people with a 6-inch super jump and be able to lay waste to them. And if she loses the face-to-face roll, well, she may only lose 1 wound and she can engineer herself when the fight's done, which is just crazy. It may explain why. And I think just having her as an engineer would have been fine. Judging by her Aristeia profile and what she does in that game, I was expecting her to be a doctor and a hacker with remote presence. But in this case, she is a doctor and engineer. So while immunity shock, that's a given because she has 2 wounds. They just write it down. And courage is also great, obviously. With the ability to decide what she's doing, with a guts check and so on and so forth. Excuse me. So we've got Doctor 2 wounds. This is crazy. So this is the equivalent of the N3 Akbar Doctor. So the Akbar Doctor in N3 was able to not only just heal 1 wound with a successful whip roll, but to heal 2 wounds. Now this is re-rollable, of course, with a command token, and at whip 15, 75% chance to do it. The first time, you're probably going to get it, and if it's a big, beefy model with 2 wounds, a character model, something that's important, this is going to be absolutely crucial. It's so good. Next to engineer +3, so she is engineering anything, and she can, often you probably want to take her on her own so that she, not linked. In a link team so that she can engineer things with a UDBot, with a peripheral across the table on 18s. That is absolutely insane. It's just incredible, and it makes you want to put her in. And yes, she's expensive, but that's mental. That kind of reliability is not many places in Infinity. For good reason. It's very, very good. It's maybe a little too good, but some testing is required, of course, with this unit. And unfortunately, because of the way COVID is at the moment, I haven't been able to do that, but I will as soon as I can, trust me. Dodge +3, as I said earlier, that just bolsters her ability to avoid damage, bumping her weak physique of 10 up to a 13 for those dodge rolls, really, really good. And super jump, of course, well, on a 4/4 model, not so good. On a 6/2 model, actually quite damn good, especially when you consider that maybe you want to doctor a sniper that's on a building or something, a small building, or someone who's just gone down, like a missile bot linked or something on a building. You want to be able to get up there quickly. Well, you don't even have to hide her really anywhere near it now. If you've got a clear run, you can just jump up from behind a building and get to where you need to and make the engineer roll, doctor roll. Yeah, really good in so many situations. It's a little bit frightening. Just going on to her weapons, 2 submachine guns, brilliant. This is not a character that you were expecting to be able to shoot at long range and get a lot done that way. At close range, it means she can defend herself. She's got a flash pulse as well, so if that's better with her whip 15, which it might be for the face-to-face roll, you can use that. And then offensively, you're throwing 4 dice. easy to catch people off guard. You can just rely on maybe winning the face-to-face roll, break cover for yourself just to get, or maybe not even have to, just to catch them out of cover and get that ballistic skill 15 or the +3. Really exceptional, really, really good. Obviously, Dismo Kit Medikit, meaning that she can use her Doctor abilities from range. Obviously, if she uses the Medikit, you're going to be on their physique, so you may not want to do that. Just because it's not as reliable as just walking up to them and using her Whip 15. With the Gizmo Kit, again, you're using theirs, same thing. But you will be getting advantage. I do believe you're getting the advantage of the Engineer +3 roll for that, but I'll have to look into that. That might be a bit of a weird one. If you guys know how that interaction works with Engineer +3 and a Gizmo Kit, because it's done on their physique, I would probably suggest that you can't use the +3 bonus there. But if it's different, please tell me in the comments. Again, you're probably just better off just walking up to them, and you've got a decent move value to do that in one short skill anyway. So that's Parvati for Infinity. I will be doing a breakdown of her in context. So if you want to know how I would use her on the table with O12 and Star Armada and LF, although really she shines in Star Armada, then I will be doing a follow-up video, which I'm really looking forward to doing. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I just wanted the dust to settle a little bit on the buffs and nerfs and changes to the Army app before I start talking about it, because I actually did, funny story, start recording a video a couple of weeks after the app was released, and that was a big mistake because a lot of stuff changed, and there's still little errors here and there that they're fixing. But I think it's more stable now, so I will do a full video breakdown. I've had over, I think it's 45 games with O12. So that's a fairly decent number of games with O12, and I feel I can confidently talk about them as a sectorial. And I will be getting games in with Star Armada as soon as Boris Johnson lets us do that. So, on to the Parvati Aristeia breakdown in a sec. Okay, so let's talk about Parvati in Aristeia. So I'm a huge fan of this character in Aristeia. I'm generally a fan of her across the board, but her usefulness in Aristeia has actually increased. She seemed to be a little bit underpowered when the first few characters started to come out, and we started to see where the game was going with the first few releases of packs, like the legendary B, because I can't pronounce that second name, that had a lot of offensive characters that introduced Shona and things like that. And we were looking at it going, oh, well, characters that support characters like Parvati aren't getting the usefulness. They just get assassinated early on. And you really want to have someone who's a little tougher, who can deal a little bit more damage. That was in the early stages of the releases, though. And as the releases have started to come out, and we're starting to get characters like the Chemical Brothers and especially with Prism, characters like Dart, basically status effects have started to rule this game. Whether it be placing fire tokens, whether it be poison, whether it be dazzled, whether or more importantly taunted, which is Prism's main game and why she's such a painful tank to deal with. Status effects on characters have taken over, and her ability to help you to heal up and to get rid of those status effects has become completely invaluable. Like I am very tempted to take her in my starting lineup. Not just tempted, actually, I do. I take her in my starting lineup now every single time because she just always gets the value. She has almost been a game winner for me, just getting rid of your opponent's ability to shut you down, which is a lot of people's game plan at the moment. And any character that can, if they're not dealing with her effectively, can turn the tide of battle by giving you your characters back effectively. So she's really, really good. So let's start at the top. So obviously we've got basic stats here. So average initiative to begin with, and we'll talk about her buffs in a minute, but average initiative to start with, initiative 4. That 5 movement. So when the original 8 came out and we had a couple of extra characters released, we thought, oh, there'd be lots of characters with movement 5, or at least I did. I thought, oh, 5. One of the starting lineup characters have got 5. We might see a few characters with move 5. Actually, we didn't. Turns out that Parvati is one of the fastest characters in the game, and that is really good, obviously. So a move 5 means that as a support character, she can easily get to where she's needed, and she can stay out of the fight if she wants to as well by sticking around the back areas. If you're attacking middle point or any other point, she can stay at a decent distance and support your other characters whilst getting in and out as well. One of those things that Aristeia players forget is that they can move a little bit and move back, and she can easily move a bit, use the ability, move back. She can easily move and then get herself behind cover or into an annoying spot for your opponent to deal with, and still use these abilities that are very cheap. So yeah, that movement really helps, and 5, as I said, is quite rare actually, as it turns out. Action points 5, obviously that's the standard for Aristeia, nothing surprising there. 3 wounds, effectively, hit points, which is, technically it's average, but it's a little bit on the squishy side, and especially early on where we had a lot of characters that were still had like 4 hit points minimum, and you were having to deal with characters like Final Boss and Shona and stuff that just were punching in the face or dealing heinous amounts of damage in the case of Shona, and even obviously Wild Bill is still top tier along with Musashi, obviously kicks ass. So 3 hit points is not actually that strong, but it's still better than some and probably about average. Defensively, she's is what you'd expect. Obviously, all of her defensive dice for dealing with blocks and so on is pretty standard as well, nothing particularly special, but still on the to be average for what is meant to be like a semi-squishy character is quite good. So yeah, her main switch, this is a bit of a weird one and something that I see misplayed quite a lot, but really a lot of people thought, because when you first get the game, it's a little bit unclear as to how state tokens really work. And I saw a lot of people making this mistake very, very early on, where she'll use the switch and she'll get the +2 state token, but all state tokens need to be flipped at the end of that character's activation, so that the +2 goes to a +1, or at least it should. A lot of people were forgetting to flip that state token because they thought, oh, that can't possibly be how it works, because that means she only ever gets +1. Yes, technically, it means she only ever gets +1, but if she's the defender of an attack and she's rolling some dice, at any point she's rolling dice, then, and especially if her activation hasn't come up yet, she's able to, if she survives the attack, then give herself a legitimate +2, which means she's initiative 6, which is really, really good. And as a switch that's very easy to activate, it's fairly decent. Obviously, there were much better ones in the game, but it's damn good. It's still good to have that +1. I mean, she's generally running around with +1 initiative all the time anyway, so that initiative's going out to 5, so that's still pretty good. The Submachine Guns, yeah, it's a pretty standard average attack. It's easy to buff. Obviously, there's no red dice in there. It's standard cost 2. It's got a decent range. So, as I said, if she's darting around the back here, doing her thing, she can dart in, maybe move 3, shoot 6, which is giving her a total range of 9, and then go back 2 after she's made her attack. It gives you an extra attacking option that isn't terrible, especially if you buff the dice. So, it's pretty good. It's pretty good that a character that is this versatile actually has an attack that can do something. It's really not bad. It's certainly better than Maximus for punching people. Reset. This is the main one, and it's really powerful, and it's the kind of ability that really could have only turned up at a character that was made early in a game's life cycle, because it's got a really, really good range, and you can't just think of ranges in a vacuum. You've got to think about the character moving first, which means you can dart in, deal with take states off of your main brawler, your main character that's in the fight, or your tank or whatever, and get back into safety quite easily. It only costs 2, and it's pretty reliable to get that to hit every time in it, because it's got extra orange dice in there. A lot of hits on that dice. You can add dice to it, of course, because it's a normal roll. Again, it is a normal roll. I'm using the infinity term for it, but it is a roll that is unopposed. So this ability can go off. If they don't deal with you, she's running around doing this all day, you know? And it's all states. It's all states, and that is absolutely key because you know a lot of the time you'll have multiple states put on the character. So when you run prisms, put taunt on you, and then you've got other status effects like dazzle and all this horrible stuff to mean that you can't really hurt her. This gets rid of all of it, and this is one of Parvati plus a decent brawler character is how you would deal with characters like Prism. And just rip through other enemies' tanks and stuff, and just get rid of all their abilities to shut you down. So this is really crucial. And Medikit. So this seemed like one of those things that was a bit like, oh, it's only one. We'll probably see another healer in the game that can do much more than that. Turns out we didn't. Turns out Parvati is just the best basic healer in the game. Obviously, you've got Mendoza who can do area effect healing. But the reality is that pound for pound, with this as a cost of 1, the ability to move in and maybe heal 3 points is absolutely huge. And obviously she can do it to herself because it's got a 0 range. And again, you're adding a movement value to that range as well. Yeah, it turns out that just standard all-round healing to anybody at any point is actually pretty good in Aristeia. And again, we haven't seen a dedicated healer. We haven't, to use a comparison to Overwatch, because it's quite easy to do, we haven't seen a Mercy. A character that can just go in and heal for insane amounts on a single target or whatever. So this is your best bet. This is your overall basic healer in the game. And with all of this utility here, it's hard not to see her now as absolutely essential. As I said earlier on in the game, it wasn't quite the case. You could probably get away without it. But now with all the status effects flying everywhere from so many different characters, you just need it. You just need it, and you just need her to be there, supporting your team, staying out of the fight, and picking off characters as well. She can pick off anyone who's low on health. There are 2 or 1 hit points left. She can easily get the kill after having done a couple of things as well. She can move in, get the kill, do a heal, move in, get the kill, do a reset. It's great, and all the time bumping up her initiative value. I think she's absolutely exceptional, and I think you should take her all the time. Okay guys, well thank you for watching. If you like what you've seen here, you can do the like and subscribe thing. If you want to see things that I've painted and what I'm up to at the moment, I have a new website called Seb.K and I'm on Instagram at Sebastian K Miniatures. Also with Tabletop Republic, there's a whole bunch of more videos on various things, anything from card games to board games and 40k and stuff like that. So please check out our other videos. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Cheers.